Now, this mural, created by artist Milton Coronado, is at 16th and Newbury in Pilsen. Coronado wanted a way to express that Chicago mourns for Marlen and her family. Coronado is a victim of violence himself. His father was shot and killed in 2001. He says he struggled with forgiving and finding hope. For him, art has been therapy, and he's hoping to bring that comfort to her family.
And people can just find hope here. Not over this piece of art, not over the art and the colors, but the story. That in the midst of this evil, we can find hope. And I wanted to know that myself, with my family, and the rest of Chicago, we're praying for them. Even though they may not see light in the midst of this darkness, light is coming. I remember hearing about this story weeks before they had found her deceased body, and I found out about it through Facebook. I'm scrolling my Facebook feed one time and I came across a story that said that a young girl from the south side of Chicago was missing. And so I was totally shocked because I thought it was my niece. I mean, they looked like each other. Very similar. And so I tap on the story, it opens up, I started reading it, looking at the picture there, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not her, but what's going on with this story? So I continue reading, and I'm like, just talking to God, having an eternal prayer with him, and I was like, God, please allow this young girl to be found. Please provide the wisdom and the necessary needs for the individuals who are investigating so that she can be found and she can be safe and healthy. And tragically, weeks went by, the news is still reporting about this life and this story every day. And after a couple weeks, we find out that she could be in a particular home in the south side of Chicago and that they were investigating. Through Facebook Live, society and whoever tuned in could see second by second, word by word being shared about what was happening at that home at live time. And it's now the evening, and then we are reported that we are informed that her body was found and that she had passed away. Everybody wondered about her baby and how it was, and they didn't say anything about her baby yet, but they were investigating that. And later we found out more horrific news about how her baby was stripped out of her womb and that it was in the hospital alive, at least at the time. And we were all shocked, we were all devastated. Even though we didn't know her, I mean, it was such a horrific way of dying, evil and demonic. And so that Thursday, that day that she was found, I'm having conversation with my wife at home, and she suggested why I didn't try painting a mural in her honor for her family and for the community of Chicago that was mourning this loss. And I thought it was a good idea. I was reminded of the mural that I painted of my father in 2016, and as a memorial for him and as a way to heal as well. My father passed away in 2001 from a gunshot to the head, and it took me years, 15 years later, to be able to paint a mural of him in the north side of Chicago. and it was a healing component for me and my family. So my wife suggested that. I was like, you know what, I think I will. The family will certainly love it, appreciate it, and need it, as well as the city of Chicago, because we felt connected to this young life, even though we didn't know her, because we followed this story every day, and because we were just shocked at the way she passed away. The city, needed that type of honor for her as well. So this was a Thursday. I remember I got my paint, I got my caps, things that I needed. And on Sunday morning, I woke up really early, loaded up my van, and I said bye to my wife, and I drove to the Pilsen community of Chicago. And I drove from Damon and 16th all the way towards Halsted, driving east on 16th. And right before I reached Halsted, like a block and a half before, praying to God, I was like, God, please provide the wall, because the wall is equally as important. I mean, I had the design in mind, I had the picture in my car, I knew what I was gonna do, somewhat at least. And I was like, God, I just need the wall. Which wall? Where should I do it on? And right when I came to the stop sign on the corner of 16th and Newberry, I looked to my left, and I said, God, this is it. Thank you. And I made a U-turn. I parked my car, got all my things out, my ladder. I put the paint in the floor. I organized it by their colors, by their color schemes, and I started drawing. Through the grid system, that what you saw in the video prior to this conversation. And the clouds started coming in. I'm like, God, please don't let it rain. And it started drizzling, and I'm still painting. Halfway in, people stopped and they're like, is that the girl that passed away? And I said, yes. And I said, thank you so much. They're taking pictures, and I'm sure that they posted them on social media. And about a little bit past halfway, it started pouring. And I said, oh my goodness. So I got in my car, and I waited for about an hour till the heavy rain passed over me, rather. And I got out of the car, and I went back to paint. About 2 hours after that, I finally finished. It had stopped raining. At this point, I can't even tell you how many people I talked to that stopped asking me if that was Marlen, and thanking me for doing it. And I loaded up my car, and on the way home, I got phone calls from news stations, reporters, and I was just like wondering, first of all, how'd you get my number? And then how did you know that I did this? And then it hit me. I'm like, okay, well, people, social media. All right, well, that makes sense. And after that, I was able to connect with these reporters, with these news stations, and just report about this mural and just share what I'm sharing here. It took me about 4.5 hours to do. I was there longer because of the rain, and I stopped to eat, and I stopped to talk to people. And that's the reason why I did that. I did that because we needed hope. I needed to do that because I wanted to give the family something that I received when I was able to paint a picture of my father in 2016. I needed to give to the city something that reminded them about hope, about something positive, because every time you turn on the news, it was all negative and just sad, and it sucked the life out of you whenever you read or heard or saw anything related to this story. So I wanted to give something positive, something that reminded them of life, something that reminded them that even though through the midst of this evil and horror and darkness, there is some light. There is some light. And that's the message that I want people to receive from looking at this mural, whether they see it on a wall or in person. Mind you, it won't be the same looking at the wall through a picture as it would be standing in front of it. And I don't say that just because I'm the muralist who created it, but as an individual, it's always different when you stand in front of the piece of art. So what I want people to receive when they see it is just a reminder of how precious life is. Reminder to love their loved ones. Remind us about of how important it is to be kind to one another, to be loving towards each other, to be cautious and aware people that we meet online, and to be informed as well, to be reminded of perhaps people that have passed away from our life, our parents, siblings, friends, grandparents, just to be reminded of the people that have passed away in our lives, and also be reminded that through the hope that I want people to receive, that we will see them once again in heaven. And I really believe that. I really believe that, like, to the core. And that's the message that I want people to receive. Something positive, something loving, something related with hope. Even though we live in a world where there's tragedy, and we can be here 1 minute and the next we can be gone, to take advantage of that time that we have with our loved ones and just love on each other. It was a wonderful thing to do. I'm able to feel the impact as the creator of this mural. It's an honor to give to that community something from what God gave me, which is this skill, and to provide hope through this skill to the entire world. People then ask me, like, okay, well, why did you what about when you added the Christ with the baby? And you know what, I didn't want to my intentions were not to include him, and this is why. We wanted the baby to survive. When the baby was stripped out of her womb, this woman who killed Marlen and took the baby to the hospital and told the staff that she was a mother. And so the baby was treated, obviously, because he was stripped out of this womb from a premature time, and everyone at the hospital believed that this lady was a mother. And the rest of us, the community, the entire world, you and I, hoped for this baby to survive. That in the midst of this tragedy, there could be this grand miracle of the baby living. Sadly, a couple weeks went by and the baby did not make it. I found out that the baby passed away on a Friday morning when I got a phone call from a certain reporter, who then asked me if I was going to now include the baby. And I was just in shock, and I was like, well, let me wrap my mind around this. Now the baby's gone. And I contemplated, I questioned myself, I prayed about it, and I'm like, should I do this? And I really wondered if I don't know if I could have. And then all the pictures I had that we had about the baby was the baby all tubed up, and I don't want to paint that on a wall. So then I thought, if I do this, how will I do it? I don't want to paint an image of the baby with tubes all around his head and his face. And then I thought about that hope again, that hope that we have. And then the idea came to me, putting the baby in the arms of Jesus, right next to this portrait of Marlen. Because in the end, that's how we will be reunited, all of us. And so I remember it was also on a Sunday, after I found out that the baby passed away. So baby passed away on a Friday morning, and I painted that baby the weekend after, that same weekend rather. It took me a little longer, because now here I am painting a Christ and a baby, and it's a little bit bigger than Marlen's portrait. And there was a lot more people, because everybody found out about the Marlen mural. It was all over the news. So now it got a lot of recognition, it got a lot of story, it got a lot of coverage. And because people now assumed that I was going to add the baby next to her portrait, Everybody was ready to see the artist create this live. And so a lot of people came out, and I kept on stopping to ask to just have conversations with them, take pictures with them. It was a humbling experience for me, and I'm glad to just provide that hope that way. So yeah, it took me about 5 hours to do it. I thank God it was a beautiful sunny day. I was humbled to do this, and to be to join the family in mourning. When I was able to meet the father and the rest of Marlen's family, it was such an honor hugging them, embracing them, and share my story, my journey, and then listening to stories about Marlen, get to know her even more. We're all crying, we're taking pictures, we're bawling. It was an honor. It was quite an honor. And I'm sure people had a lot of questions and continue to have them about this, and I don't know what's going on with the case. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm certain that we have a hope. We have a hope that in the midst of this tragedy, this darkness, light will prevail. Light will prevail. Maybe not in this world, but in the next. And those individuals that were involved in ending two precious lives, they will be dealt with in a divine manner. It's out of our hands. One could say it's in the justice system, and one would say, I don't trust the justice system in this country. That's fine, that's fair, I understand. But more importantly, at least for me personally, I believe in a higher power that's much more wise and knows exactly how to teach us lessons. And I have faith in that. So it's not our concerns, it's not about these people getting what they deserve, but it's just about having the faith and leaving it in God's hands and having Him taking care of it. Lastly, to be reminded of this hope that we have. It's not about what ifs and buts and what could have happened. It's not about seeking clarity, finding the answers, but it's about certainty. We are certain that we are loved by a higher power, by this God that calls us to Him every day. So I challenge you to check that out. If it wasn't for Him, I probably wouldn't be standing here after things that I've gone through in my life, my mother passing and my father being killed by individuals that I once called family and friends. But I have that hope that one day I'll be connected with them once again in person. And I want to remind you that life is precious. Be kind, be loving, serve one another as we maintain our loyalty, our faithfulness, and our honesty with others and with ourselves. All right, so guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time, and continue to check out more videos that I have here. God bless.